Tonight on SCTV News, a $2 million grant was anonymously donated to improve SHIP's athletic facilities.
And a protester on campus Thursday afternoon had many students freedom of speech.
All that and more right now.
Creeped up on us.
Thanks for joining us on SCTV News. I'm Jacob Hitz.
And I'm Nolan Huffman. Three demonstrators were on SHIP's campus today voicing their views on religion, gender, and much more as part of SIN's Awareness Day. Students took to the quad to voice their opinions as well. SUPD put up barriers and provided extra security as more students approached. Students were outraged with the message that the pastors brought, one saying, quote, "It's ridiculous and a waste of time," end quote. Students hope coming together will show the importance of unity and kindness within the SHIP community. Shippensburg recently got a donation of $2 million to improve its football locker rooms. Take a look. President Lori Carter recently announced a gift of $2 million that will go towards a new locker room for the football team. The new football facility is expected to be built at the rear of Seth Grove Stadium and is also rumored to include upgrades to the stadium tunnel as well. The new locker rooms will reportedly be connected to the stadium by expanding the tunnel that is currently connecting Student Association Field. The new locker rooms will offer additional space, which includes bigger lockers, 20 new showers, and an upgraded restroom facility will also be included in the recently announced upgrade. The initial donor who made this all happen wishes to remain anonymous and made the investment strictly to improve locker rooms. The projects were developed based upon the findings of a comprehensive study of University Athletics locker rooms. The combined estimated cost of the project is reportedly $5.6 million. Nolan Huffman reporting with SUTV News. For more information about this anonymous donation, visit sutvnews.org. The Shippensburg College of Business will be involved in a marketing competition Thursday, October 24th. The contest gives students a chance to create a marketing campaign for the 250th anniversary of the United States in 2026. Students use this marketing campaign to celebrate the many contributions throughout American history. The goal of the competition is to create a campaign that is, quote, EPIC, which stands for Educate, Preserve, Innovate, and Celebrate. Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf said, quote, "The first goal is to have one heck of a party and make sure we celebrate our 250th anniversary in an appropriate fashion and understand the central role of Pennsylvania played in the founding of this nation," end quote. The four SHIP students include Barina Pei, Austin Moreno, Megan Swain, and John Harriman will be competing for the College of Business. The team will compete against a few other colleges in the Pennsylvania area. One school will be chosen to attend the next round of the competition.
A Shippensburg student was one of 11 students from the Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education to be selected for the Harrisburg Internship semester. Marcus Huertas will represent Shippensburg by interning in the office of the Speaker of the State House Representative Mike Turzai. Marcus, a Marine Corps veteran and senior SHIP student, is a political science major and will earn 15 credits through his internship. If you're a Shippensburg student interested in the Harrisburg Internship semester, you can contact Dr. Michael Greenberg at megree@ship.edu. A Shippensburg alum is being celebrated for his accomplishments in the areas of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or computer science. Joel Crowley was given the Presidential Award for Excellence, the highest award given to teachers who instruct K through 12 students. Crowley has been working at the Milton Hershey School for over a decade and is currently a lab instructor for grades 1 through 4. Crowley is being acknowledged for his newly introduced lessons in coding, robotics, technical education, engineering, and more. The SHIP alum has worked with students on many things, including farm enclosures and programs with NASA. Crowley will receive many things along with his award, including $10,000 from the National Science Foundation. This week, SHIP is recognizing the excellence in international education. Take a look.
It's International Education Week at SHIP. This week, SUTV's Danielle Williams spoke with Mary Burnett, the International Programs Director, about her role and the importance of this week. Here's Danielle with more.
My name is Mary Burnett. My title here is Director of International Programs. I am responsible for helping any of our domestic students who are interested in traveling abroad, studying abroad, making that happen.
Mary Burnett shared she works with students to find programs that match up with their academics and cultural interests. Burnett also helps students with their admissions process. She helps students with immigration and works with Homeland Security for students to live in the U.S.
The second thing that I do is I'm the International Student Advisor.
The International Studies program offers a number of resources to raise awareness for diversity and different opportunities available to students.
International Education Week is actually celebrated all over the United States to raise awareness of both international opportunities and also the vibrant diversity of our students and our faculty and staff here at Shippensburg University. So this is our 10th year celebrating International Education Week, which I'm very proud of. For any of our students, faculty, or staff that have originated outside of the United States, that we have a flag that represents them.
This is Danielle Williams for SUTV News.
International Education Week is a partnership between the U.S. Department of State and Department of Education to promote programs across the world and prepare American students for future global interactions. In honor of October, SUTV's Danielle Williams sat down with Dr. Allison Dagnes, a political science professor at SHIP and a survivor of breast cancer. Here's Danielle with
The opportunity to sit down and learn about Dr. Allison's experience with breast cancer at the age of 45. We began with her explaining the moment she was informed she had breast cancer.
I had a biopsy that was done in August of 2014, and I went back to get the results, and I was 100% convinced that they were going to tell me that it was fine.
According to breastcancer.org, about 1 in 8 U.S. women will develop invasive breast cancer over the course of her lifetime. This year, an estimated 268,000 new cases of invasive breast cancer are expected to be diagnosed in women in the U.S., along with nearly 63,000 new cases of non-invasive breast cancer. We then discussed the importance of mammograms and early detection.
Mammograms are incredibly important. I feel so strongly that all women be able to get a mammogram and that they should be affordable to all women, which means providing insurance and assistance, because this should not be the right of rich women. This should be the right for all women.
This is Danielle Williams reporting for SUTV News.
Looking to get involved with breast cancer awareness in your area? Visit pabreastcancer.org for more information.
October is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. SUTV's Sean Townshend has more.
Domestic violence is a serious national problem. It is the willful intimidation, physical assault, sexual, or other abusive behavior. It can affect men, women, children, or anyone of the LGBTQ community. Director of Women's Studies Rebecca Ward briefly described how the abusers take control of their significant other.
Domestic violence is all about power and control. It's about someone taking the power of somebody else. So when you look at, there's a variety of different ways that domestic violence is seen, so there's a lot of different ways it happens. So there's physical, sexual, financial, isolation.
Professor Ward also went into detail on what resources to use here on campus.
You can go to the counseling center. You can access the advocacy line through the SHIP Says No More. You can access any of the, Women in Need is in Chambersburg. They have a 24-hour hotline.
If you or a family member are a victim, please call 1-800-799-7233. Please don't hesitate. This is Sean Townsend, SUTV.
For more information about domestic violence and prevention, visit dhs.pa.gov. Last Thursday, Shippensburg University students, faculty, and staff joined in a unity gathering at the Shippensburg station with members of the community. This event was planned to bring together all of SHIP's communities to share a moment of reflection and peace following the High Street shooting on October 6th. Student Government Association President Avon Vinegar welcomed the crowd while everyone gathered to bow their heads in prayer, accompanied by the words of Reverend Jane Beyer. Shippensburg Borough Mayor Kathy Coy and Shippensburg Township Supervisor Steve Olt were in attendance and offered words of wisdom to ensure safety within the community. As the event ended, Shippensburg University President Lori Carter asked the community to be a part of bringing Shippensburg into a new chapter. She said, quote, "Live out our SHIP values in all that you do, living them out in our community and as an example to the world beyond. This is hard work, but the work that may well make the biggest difference in our world," end quote. It took 18 years, but officials have identified another victim of the September 11th attacks in New York.
The victim was a man whose remains were recovered at the World Trade Center in Lower Manhattan in 2001. Officials used improved DNA technique to identify him. His family has asked that his name not be shared. He is the third victim to be identified this year. In all, 2,977 people were killed in the attacks on New York City, Washington, D.C., and outside Shanksville, Pennsylvania. More than 1,100 of those victims remain unidentified.
2019 marks 18 years since the 9/11 attacks, where nearly 3,000 people were killed.
Early Sunday morning, residents in the 700 block of North Fountain Street in Allentown, Pennsylvania were woken up to what they thought was an explosion. Flames were soon seen coming from the houses, leading to a mad dash to gather up whatever possessions the residents could carry. One by one, the houses caught fire and residents were seen frantically trying to escape while rescue workers arrived on scene. Thankfully, everyone managed to get out of their homes with little injuries. But as a result, this mysterious fire left 10 homes completely destroyed, 44 people displaced, and a community in shock. Demolition crews have come in to level the burned homes, while authorities have ruled out the possibility of a gas leak being the cause of the fire. The real cause is still unknown. While Alzheimer's research works towards curing the disease, doctors in Ohio are focused on simply managing the symptoms. SCTV's Allison Klein has more.
A drug that helps manage Alzheimer's disease is one step closer to getting approval from the federal government. Researchers are calling the drug historic.
Overnight, this drug went from off the shelf, done, to now being the potential next drug approved.
Dr. Marwan Sabag, director of the Cleveland Clinic LaRuvo Center for Brain Health, says what a difference a little extra data makes. He says during the initial analysis of aducanumab's effects, it didn't show enough promise to pursue it, but a deeper dive into the data from the test group at the Ruvo Center showed it clearly removed plaque, or amyloids, from the brains of Alzheimer's patients.
These are before, these are after, okay? This is the placebo group. Red is all the amyloid in the brain. This is the highest dose. This is the before and after. This is a year later. This is a brain full of amyloid, all the red. And this is a brain full of is empty of amyloid after a year.
Now, based on its ability to slow down the ravaging effects of Alzheimer's, some are calling aducanumab a history-making drug. And its maker, Biogen, is set to take it to the FDA for approval in a few months, meaning it could be on the market as early as a year from now. Dr. Sabag makes it clear this is not an Alzheimer's cure, but instead management. Dr. Sabag warns the drug might not be cheap if or when it is approved by the FDA. He's also unsure if the medicine will be covered by insurance plans. I'm Allison Klein, back to you guys at the desk.
In 2019, 5.8 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's disease. For more information about the disease, visit alz.org.
When we come back in world news, former Spanish dictator Francisco Franco is being reburied.
And protests in Lebanon continue. SHIP students have much to look forward to in next week's edition of The Slate. Michaela Volonio has more.
Coming up in The Slate on Tuesday, we will cover the field hockey team as they take on IUP this Saturday, as well as an interview with President Carter. Other stories include the Tricks No Treats event and the Me Too event, and coverage of the Rocky Horror Picture Show and So You Think You Can Dance. Be sure to pick up the next edition of The Slate in newsstands on campus and off campus, or at theslateonline.com.
Police in Essex County, England are investigating the death of 39 Chinese nationals discovered in a truck container Wednesday.
Brady Fisher has this week's world news. Brady?
Police in the United Kingdom are investigating after 39 people were found dead in the container of a semi-truck. The bodies were found in an industrial park in Essex, which is about 18 miles east of London. The truck is from Bulgaria. Officials think it entered the UK through Wales on a ferry from Ireland. The 25-year-old driver of the truck is from Northern Ireland. He's been arrested on suspicion of murder. Investigators are working to identify the victims, including at least one teen. Some members of parliament speculate the incident is a case of human trafficking, but police have not confirmed that claim. There have been a number of similar incidents in the UK and Europe in recent years involving migrants and found suffocated in containers. It's now a week since protests broke out across Lebanon. A general strike began Monday. Banks, schools, universities are closed, and hundreds of thousands take to the streets day after day. Lebanon is the latest country in the Arab world where the people have said enough to economic stagnation and corruption. Lebanon, Iraq, Algeria, Sudan, and Egypt, each country is different, but the frustration among them is the same. Frustrations are against unemployment, poverty, governmental corruption, and governmental impotence. The remains of Spain's right-wing dictator, General Francisco Franco, have been exhumed Thursday, after Spain's Supreme Court ruling gave the green light in September. His exhumation and reburial is the most significant move in years by Spanish authorities to lay the ghost of the general whose legacy still divides the country he dominated for nearly 4 decades. About 500,000 people were killed in the Spanish Civil War between Franco's nationalist rebels, backed by Hitler and Mussolini, and the left-wing Republicans. Franco's body has moved from the Valley of the Fallen, just outside Madrid. His final resting place will be the cemetery of Mingorrubio in El Pardo, where his dictator's wife is buried. A United Nations report is shedding new light on the extreme deprivation millions of North Koreans are suffering under Kim Jong-un. But the dictator appears to be more concerned about the state of one of his resorts. CNN's Brian Todd explains.
Kim Jong-un on a tear. The dictator not pleased with the state of disrepair at his famed Mount Kumgang resort, a once posh hideaway featuring gorgeous canyons, spectacular waterfalls, and beaches. Maybe it was the public presence for the first time in several months of his alluring wife, Ri Sol-ju, that got him anxious on this visit. Kim compared Mount Kumgang to a refugee camp, his news agency saying the buildings were, quote, built like makeshift tents in a disaster-stricken area, and ordering that the property be spruced up.
Kim Jong-un likes fancy things. He's built a ski resort, he's built amusement parks, and so he has a sort of a standard of luxury that he's familiar with.
A standard that has gone by the wayside at Mount Kumgang. It was once the crown jewel of joint cooperation between North and South Korea. Built with a lot of South Korean resources, South Korean tourists would flock to the retreat until 2008, when a South Korean tourist was killed.
The lady woke up one morning, she went wandering down the beach, and apparently she wandered too far and was shot and killed by a North Korean sentry.
At which point, South Korea banned its citizens from going there. Kim's so upset over the state of Mount Kumgang, he said the almost unthinkable, criticizing the, quote, very wrong dependent policy of the predecessors, an implicit jab at his late father, Kim Jong-il, who initiated the Mount Kumgang project in 1998.
He's feeling very confident. And to take on these new titles, to implicitly criticize his father's development strategy. There is definitely a sense that he is building himself up as perhaps the most important person in North Korea since his grandfather, the founder of the country.
This as the UN's top human rights monitor for North Korea has issued a scathing report, saying nearly half of Kim's people are undernourished.
They will do anything it takes to find food for themselves and their families. During the worst times in North Korea, they ate weeds and the bark of trees. If that's what it takes, they will steal. They're desperate.
While Kim spends hundreds of millions on the development of nuclear warheads, submarine-launched missiles, and other delivery systems, the UN says jarringly that because of the food crisis, 30,000 North Korean children face an increased risk of death.
This is a regime that invests in high-risers, nuclear weapons, ballistic missiles, and now, yes, recently, high-class resorts. All they bring in the eyes of Kim Jong-un is more prestige to the regime at the expense of sacrificing the people of North Korea.
That's it for this week's World News. Back to you guys at the desk.
When we come back in entertainment, a preview of this year's production of Rocky Horror Picture Show.
And a potential sequel to a favorite Halloween film.
Well, I tell you what, Nolan, the leaves are falling, the temperatures are starting to fall, and I don't know about you, but the only thing that's missing to me is snow falling.
Absolutely. I definitely like the fall weather here in Shippensburg. It's definitely an exciting time.
Let's send it to Drew Weibel with this week's weather forecast.
Looking this week on the forecast, it's clear to see that fall has fully crept its way into Shippensburg. Tonight, we can expect a low of 43, and tomorrow, cloudy skies with a high of 64. Now moving into the 5-day, the temperatures are what you'd expect out of early autumn, remaining mostly in the mid to high 60s with lows in the 50s. It also looks like there's a fair amount of rain headed our way this week, with showers on Saturday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Now, hopefully the rain clears up before Halloween next Thursday. I kind of wanted to go trick-or-treating. That's all for weather. Now let's see what's going on this week in entertainment.
It's Halloween season, and that means it's time for the annual Rocky Horror Picture Show. Act 5, the Shippensburg student-run theater troupe, has been performing the show annually since 2016. Students in the production have been working tirelessly around the clock to perfect their performance of such a well-loved cult classic. All of this hard work wrapped up last night during the cast's final dress rehearsal, where they ran the show top to bottom in full costume and makeup. It was all hands on deck, including lights, fog effects, and a spotlight crew. But it hasn't been just the cast working hard. Director of the production, Gina Lopresti, gave us some insight onto what she is concerned about most as they approach opening night.
People are looking for certain things, and everybody wants their own satisfaction from the show. So it's how can I deliver for everybody, but still make it something that's going to make me happy as well.
The Rocky Horror Picture Show premieres tonight at the Memorial Auditorium on Shippensburg's campus. Tickets start at $5, but students can see the show for $3 if they present their student ID at the box office.
We all know the famous Halloween movie Hocus Pocus. A sequel may be in the works for this movie. The original 1993 film Hocus Pocus follows 3 witches who were accidentally resurrected by a boy in Salem, Massachusetts. It is confirmed that the sequel will be aired on Disney+. The original cast members returning for Hocus Pocus 2 is not yet confirmed, but Disney+ hopes the original stars will be, quote, will be involved in some capacity, end quote. On October 2nd, 5 original cast members were featured in Vanessa Shaw's Instagram post, the caption reading, quote, "Oh, will there be a second?" end quote. There is no other information on what the plot may be, but it's possible it will be based on the 2018 book Hocus Pocus and the all-new sequel.
When we come back in sports, it was homecoming weekend at Seth Grove Stadium.
And basketball preseason ranks are out. All that and more after the break.
Football hosted Millersville for homecoming weekend. SCTV Sports' Jordan Hanley has more.
It was homecoming weekend as Shippensburg matched up against Millersville for the 72nd time dating back to 1916. Things started off slow, but after that, it was all Shippensburg. Luke Durkin takes it 38 yards to the house, giving Ship the lead 7-0. After Millersville 4-and-out, Bryson Messina fakes the handoff and finds Kyle Haynes for 15 yards and the touchdown. The failed extra point would make it 13-0. The connection between these two didn't stop there though. With 17 seconds, Messina launches the ball and finds Haynes in the back of the end zone on a great pass and even better catch. This gave Ship a 20-0 lead going into half. Then halfway through the third quarter, Durkin puts the nail in the coffin as it was all hugs and smiles for Durkin and Haynes as Shippensburg would go on to win homecoming day 27-0. Jordan Hanley, SCTV Sports.
Graduate Luke Durkin totaled the most rushing yards by a Red Raider in a single game since John Kuhn ran for 234 yards against Millersville 15 years ago. Durkin finished with 31 carries, a career-high 213 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Redshirt senior Kyle Haynes also finished a career-high 120 receiving yards and equaled single-game best with 8 receptions and 2 touchdowns. Shippensburg is on the road next weekend at Kutztown. Kickoff is at 2:05. It was a rainy afternoon for field hockey as the Raiders took on Seton Hill. Junior Yasmin Petrantonio scored in the first 2 minutes, bringing the Raiders to an early lead. Senior Megan Green also managed to score her first goal of the season with an assist from senior Rosalina Capadora. Sophomores Valen Alonso and Jenna Slumer both managed to score goals on the reverse hits, with Slumer assisting Alonso. Ship's redshirt freshman goalkeeper Meg Thompson was able to make 4 saves in the second half of the game. Ship would go on to win 5-0. The Raiders will be hosting Senior Day this Saturday as they host IUP for their final game of the regular season. Game time is at noon. In women's soccer, the Raiders pulled away with 1-0 victory on their biggest road win of the season against Millersville. The Marauders are ranked number 1 in the PSAC East and number 12 in the country. The Marauders and Raiders went back and forth, each getting plenty of goal-scoring opportunities in the first half. Both teams held their own, sending the game into the second half scoreless on each end. Shippensburg had several dangerous opportunities, keeping Millersville on their toes. But take a look here when freshman Elise Caffrey plays a perfect ball forward to Isabella Weigel as she passes it right past the keeper. The Marauders had several opportunities to equalize but couldn't seem to put one away. Sophomore keeper Casey Doss had a shutout and 7 saves. The Raiders are on the road again this Saturday, facing Kutztown at 6 p.m. On to men's soccer, the Raiders dropped yet another road match. Millersville Soccer scored 2 goals early on the Raiders. However, Ship worked back in the 88th minute from a penalty kick drawn by Seth Crabb. Take a look at Colin Mark's goal as he places it and finishes it right past the keeper down the middle. That took the game 2-1, but the Raiders couldn't find a way to equalize. The Raiders face Shepherd home this Saturday at 2:30. In women's volleyball, they finished out a long stretch this week with a win against Edinburgh Saturday night. The Raiders faced a challenge, playing 4 games in just 6 days. Despite the hard schedule, the ladies did not disappoint, winning 3 games of 4. They rounded out the sweep with a stellar game on Saturday, totaling 7 aces against the Fighting Scots. The Raiders held the advantage all match and won all 3 frames with ease. Women's volleyball will play at home this week against Westchester Rams at Higas Fieldhouse. Today, men's basketball was voted second in the 2019 PSAC Eastern Division preseason coaches poll. Shippensburg returns 8 players, including 3 starters from a team that went 23-7 last season. Amongst the returning talent is junior Jake Biss and senior John Costello, both of who are returning all PSAC performers. The Raiders will look for its 5th consecutive 20-win campaign under head coach Chris Feit. Women's basketball was ranked 3rd in the 2019 PSAC Eastern Division preseason coaches poll. Shippensburg returns 11 players, including all 5 starters. This includes junior guard Ariel Jones. Jones set Ship's single-season school record for 4 points with 690 points last year. She also led the nation in both free throws made and free throws attempted. Their season kicks off at home on November 8th. This past weekend, 6 honorees were induced into the Ship Hall of Fame. SCTV Sports' Jack Ainsley has more.
This past weekend, 6 Ship alumni were inducted into the Shippensburg University Athletic Hall of Fame. One of the alumni is Curtis Evans, class of '95, who still holds the outdoor school record for pole vault at 16 feet 7 inches. As a senior, he was an All-American and placed 8th in the NCAA Outdoor Championships. His plaque will eventually be displayed at Higas Fieldhouse.
When I reflect on my pole vault career, like Chris said, I realized I'm a very small part of the equation.
Over the next 5 weeks, Jack will introduce the remaining inductees. But for today, that's all I have. For SUTV Sports, I'm Mackenzie Mitchell. Back to you guys at the desk.
When we come back, a World War II vet is finally bringing laid to rest after his family was unable to do so many years ago.
Stay with us.
A family is finally getting closure 75 years after their loved one was killed in World War II. Private First Class Joseph Bochetti's body was recently identified, and he is coming home to be laid to rest. Kimberly Davis sat down with Bochetti's sister, who has waited a lifetime to find him.
He was just the best brother there ever was, one of my best brothers.
97-year-old Mary Sterneri tells us her brother was one of the few and the proud. He was a Marine. Joseph Bichetti made the decision to protect his country back in April of 1942, a decision that broke his family's heart.
My father was very disappointed. He said, "You're too young, wait a while yet, you know." He said, "No, Mom, Dad, I want to go now."
And that's just what Private First Class Bichetti did. But his parents received a knock at the door a year and a half later, a moment Straneri tells us she'll never forget.
They presented my mother and dad with a telegram telling him that he was killed in action.
Bichetti was one of 1,020 soldiers who died on November 20th, 1943 in the Battle of Tarawa, but his body was never identified. That is up until this year, after his younger brother sent his DNA, linking him to his brother's remains in Hawaii.
I always thought, and I think my family always thought, that we would never see anything or hear anything, you know. But it was something, I can't explain it. I just can't explain it.
Bichetti would have been 99 years old today if he was still alive. But 75 years later, this creed holds true. Leave no man behind.
I feel it's a closure now after he's buried and everything. I feel it's all complete.
You know, guys, at least the family's getting some closure now.
Yeah, certainly I think it's good for them to finally know where he is.
Yeah, it's quite an amazing story.
That's it for SUTV News. I'm Nolan Huffman.
I'm Jacob Hitz.
And I'm Mackenzie Mitchell.
Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at SUTV News, and check out our website, sutvnews.org.
We'll see you next week.